Hi there, I'm John Lee, Professor of Social Studies Education at North Carolina State University. Welcome to Module 4 of our Disciplinary Literacy series on Geographic literacies. This module on Geographic literacies is the fourth in a five-part series. We've examined literacies in civics and economics, as well as the general concept of disciplinary literacies. Now our focus shifts to geography. The discipline of geography and geographic literacies are deeply ingrained in social studies, and for that matter in our everyday life. From the seemingly mundane ability to get from one place to another without getting lost, to the more complex ideas about human interaction and the local and global implications of those interactions, geography is everywhere. In this module, we'll examine distinctive concepts in geography and the special tools that geographers use to understand the spatial world. Like the other core social studies disciplines, geography has concepts and tools that are unique to the field. Given the nature of the field, an understanding of geography requires a particularly close attention to the tools of geography. Geography is unique in that it is the most hands-on of the core disciplines in social studies. Geographers work with information and data to create things such as maps, which is a representative form that is so unique and closely tied to the field that it almost becomes synonymous with geographic literacy. Some map skills, some would say map skills equal geography skills. But of course, as we've already mentioned, geography is much more than that. Geographic literacies include ways of thinking about how to solve problems and understand the world, as well as concepts unique within the field, all of which is represented in the geography strand of Dimension 2 of the C3 framework. Ultimately, geography is thinking and doing. The Waddsee-Muller map shown here is a perfect example of that combination. It's the map that named America. It was a product of tremendous skill. This is an example of a geographer really making use of tools in the discipline. And the influence of the Waddsee-Muller map on Europe when published in 1507 reflects the power of geography to shape how we think about the world. An important thing to keep in mind about geographic literacies is the similarity in how geography approaches solving problems with the ways in which we think in the C3 framework about solving problems. So it's the approaches to doing geography that are ultimately inquiry that line up really nice with the approaches to doing inquiry in general terms in social studies that are described in the C3 framework. The process of geographic inquiry and the geoliteracies needed to engage in geographic inquiry map right onto the C3 framework, as you can see in this graphic on the slide. Geographers ask questions. They acquire geographic resources and act on what they've learned. In between, geographers explore and analyze geographic information and data. It's these processes of exploring and analyzing where the literacies that are unique to geography come into sharpest relief. There are 12 indicators in the geography strand of the C3 framework, in Dimension 2 of the C3 framework. You see these on the screen now. These 12 indicators point to concepts and ways of thinking that are unique to the geography. So what you see here are actually summaries of those 12 indicators. I've also included at the top of the screen the 4 sections in the geography strand of Dimension 2 in the C3 framework. And just so you could get all of this on one slide. The 4 subsections are geographic representations, human environment interaction, human populations, and global interconnections. Collectively, the 12 indicators in these 4 sections describe the concepts and tools that students should learn about, or the ways of thinking that are unique in geography. The first of these four sections, geographic representations, is more focused on the tools of geography, specifically those mapping tools that we were talking about earlier. The other three sections that follow are more conceptual and thus help to serve more as a foundation for the field. So what we're going to do now is look at the sections of the C3 framework in Dimension 2, the geography strand. This is the section on geographic representation that focuses on tools in the field. This section includes 3 indicators. Each indicator describes related tools or skills that are central to geography. You might think of these 3 indicators as mapping skills. The first of these skills or tools, as we say in the C3 framework, is simply the ability to construct maps, but doing so in increasingly sophisticated ways, using techniques and technologies that require students to be more skilled in their work in making and using maps. As you can see in the earliest grades, students are expected to just make maps of places they know. So you see the indicator pathway on the screen in the middle of the screen. And at the K2 level, for the first indicator on constructing maps, students are expected to construct maps, graphs, and other representations of familiar places. In grades 3-5, students begin to work with unfamiliar places. By middle school, students are representing specific cultural and environmental patterns in the maps that they make. And in high school, students are beginning to use geospatial technologies. The other 2 indicators in this section of the geography strand work in tandem. The second indicator focuses on how students use maps to understand places. The third indicator focuses on using maps to understand culture and environment. So collectively, these 3 indicators, all focused on maps, are the tools of the geographer as represented in the C3 framework. Again, the first indicator is the capacity to construct maps, and the second and third indicators are the capacity to use maps, physical maps and cultural maps. The other 3 sections of the geography strand of Dimension 2 of the C3 framework focus on concepts and foundational understanding of the field. So let's take a look at those. The second section is about human-environment interaction. 2 of the indicators here set up a very interesting dichotomy. You can see there's a total of 3 indicators, and all are focused on concepts. And the 3 indicators are about humans in geography, humans in geography, and the environment. But again, the first 2 create a very interesting dichotomy. These stress humans and geography as opposed to humans in geography. So let me explain a little bit of this. And as I explain, you can see the indicators that are arrayed in the indicator pathways for indicator 4 and 5. Again, indicator 4, humans and geography. Indicator 5, humans in geography. The first of these 2 indicators, indicator 4, is about humans and geography. It's basically the idea that geographic factors such as weather, cultural patterns, and economic decisions affect humans in the places where they live and in the ways they live. Of course, that does not mean that humans are passive and geography acts upon humans without human manipulations. But instead, this indicator seeks to emphasize that students should understand how things that humans may or may not have set in motion have a major impact on how and where we live. The other indicator, indicator 5, flips this relationship and seeks to emphasize the role that humans play in shaping and affecting the places we live. Understanding the environment and its role in human life is the third indicator in this section. So that's the first two sections of the geography strand. The first is focused on tools relating to mapping. The second is focused on concepts about how humans work with geography and in geography as well as the environment. The third section in the geography strand of the C3 is focused on human population. Again, the three indicators in this section are focused on concepts and students understanding patterns and ideas in geography, this time as related to human population. Movement, human settlement, and related patterns are major themes in this section, as is again the idea or the concept of environment. But this time, the focus changes in environments and is more focused on how humans are affected in the environment with regard to their movement and their settlement patterns. The last section in the geography strand of the C3 framework is focused on global interactions, and again, the focus here is conceptual. As with the previous two sections, this fourth section brings forward these concepts as a foundational understanding in the field. This time the focus is on global issues, on global interconnections, and it emphasizes again the environment, but also economics and this notion of change, and specifically human and natural catastrophes. So in geography, as was the case with economics and with civics, the majority of the indicators are focused on concepts that students should learn. In geography, the skills or the tools that students use from geography are closely connected to mapping, where students make maps and then they use maps in order to understand the world around them. In summary, geographic literacies include the tools and concepts central to the discipline that form a foundation for geographic understanding. The C3 framework suggests that students should be able to construct and use physical and cultural maps. Those are the tools. Students should also understand conceptually how we use geographic data and information to think about human interaction, human populations, and global interactions. Now that we've finished this video on geographic literacies, please complete the assessment that accompanies the video. Make sure also to look at the background readings to expand your knowledge. I've also included a brief pause, reflect, and apply activity, and this will give you a chance to think about what you're already doing in the classroom with regard to geographic literacies and how you might extend that. Next, we'll examine the discipline of history and learn about the concepts and tools in this field that are fundamental to social studies. Thanks.